Good day everyone, this is Nicole Adrian J. Kagandahan. I am the first discussant of Group 9 and I'll be discussing the political globalization. So, ano nga ba ang political globalization? Political globalization refers to the increasing interconnectedness and the interdependence of political systems worldwide, encompassing the rise of global actors beyond the nation-state. This process involves the expansion of global political organizations, the declining importance of the nation-state, and the emergence of new actors on the political scene. So, basically, it's a process where countries around the world become more connected when it comes to politics. Hindi na lang country to country ang galawan. Ngayon, dito sa political globalization, halos lahat ng countries nakikialam o nakiki-operate sa global issues. It's like having a group project pero worldwide. So, itong political globalization, meron siyang 5 key aspects. Number 1 is interdependence. So, ano nga ba ang interdependence? It is the increased reliance and interconnectedness between nation and political actors leading to shared challenges and opportunities. Dito, pumapasok yung idea na countries need each other. Hindi na kaya ng isang bansa lang na solusyonan ang mga malalaking problema tulad ng climate change, terrorism, pandemics, or poverty. For example, noong COVID-19, diba, kailangan magtulungan ang mga bansa like sharing vaccines, health strategies, or closing or opening borders. So ang resulta ng tayo nagtutulungan, lahat tayo nag-connected na ang faith. So, because what happens in one country can affect others. Number 2, rise of global actors. Beyond traditional nation-states, international organizations, NGOs, and social movements gain influence in global politics. Ibig sabihin, dati ang mga nation-states or countries lang ang gumagawa ng political decisions. Pero ngayon, meron ng ibang mga actors o players sa political world. Isa na dito ay ang international organizations like the United Nations or UN, NGOs like Greenpeace or Amnesty International, social movements or group fighting for climate justice, human rights, and etc. These groups now influence global decisions kahit hindi sila government. Example, itong Greenpeace. Kahit NGO lang sila, malaki ang impact nila sa pag-shape ng environmental laws around the world. Number 3, declining state sovereignty. The traditional concept of absolute state sovereignty is challenged as nations increasingly cooperate and share power within global frameworks. This sounds complicated, but it simply means unti-unti nang nababawasan ang full control ng mga bansa sa sarili nilang decision. Bakit? Kasi, to be part of the global system, kailangan nilang sumunod sa international laws, treaties, and agreements. Example, if a country signs the Paris Agreement on climate change, they are expected to follow certain rules para mabawasan ang carbon emission. So, in a way, binibigyan ng mga bansa ang part ng power nila sa international agreements so that magkakaroon ng kapayapaan. So now, let's proceed to the global governance, the number 4. It is the emergence of global institutions and frameworks to address transnational issues such as climate change, trade, and human rights. Ito naman yung idea na merong mga institution or system na nag-help to govern the world, not just one country. Hindi ito isang world government, pero parang may mga global rules na sinusunod ng maraming bansa para magiging maayos ang international relations. Example, World Trade Organization or WTO. Sila yung nagtatakda ng trade rules. International Criminal Court or the ICC, pwedeng mag-trial ng mga leaders na lumabag sa international law. World Health Organization or WHO. Sila yung nag-guide sa global health efforts. So kahit walang president of the world, meron pa ring global governance na nangyayari. Last but not the least, increased accountability. Governments are increasingly held accountable to international norms and standards, leading to increased attention to human rights and environmental protection. Ngayon, mas monitor na ang mga gobyerno. Hindi na sila basta-basta makakalusot sa corruption, human rights abuse, or environmental damage. Because meron na tayong tinatawag na international media, social media, and NGOs. Governments are now pressured to do better na kasi meron na yung mga nabanggit ko. Example, kapag may country na hindi sumusunod sa human rights, international groups like Amnesty International or even the UN can call them out or ipapatawag sila. So, ang political globalization ay nagbibigay ng check and balance not just inside a country but on a global level. So, let's proceed to the examples of political globalization. The United Nations or UN, they help countries talk and solve problems or issues peacefully. Ang World Trade Organization naman or WTO, sila yung nagsiset ng rules para maayos yung international trade. Tapos ang mga NGOs naman tulad ng Greenpeace at Amnesty International gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, they fight for the environment and human rights. The last one is the Paris Agreement. This is a big example of countries working together to fight climate change. So, political globalization is a complex and involving process that raises questions about the future of the nation-state and the balance of power in international relations and the role of global governance. To sum it all up, political globalization is about countries working together, sharing political power, following global rules, being more open and accountable, and creating global solutions for global problems. Pero may mga challenges rin. So, ayun, political globalization is both exciting and challenging. It shows us na sa panahon ngayon, hindi na sapat ang bansa ko, bansa mo mindset. Kailangan magkaisa para mas malaking layunin. And that's all for my report. The next reporter will discuss the two ideas why nangyayari ang political globalization, the globalism and the internationalism. And that's all. Thank you.
Good day to each and everyone. My name is Baisiti Jahara C. Muhammad, and today I will be discussing globalism. So first, let us know what is globalism. Globalism, it is the belief that people, goods, and information ought to be able to cross national borders freely. It is the attitude of putting interests of the entire world above the interests of individual nations. Also, globalism is a network of connection that transcends distances of different countries around the world. So it means that globalism is the idea that the world is interconnected and that people, goods, and information should move freely across national borders. It emphasizes looking at the world as a whole, often prioritizing global interest over individual national interest. In this view, all countries are part of a larger network, and a decision should consider their global impact. And the concept of globalism also highlights the connection and relationship between countries such as trade, communications, and cultural exchange. These links form a global network that helps different parts of the world interact and cooperate. The increase or decrease in the degree of globalism is globalization. Now, let us know what is the difference between globalism and globalization. Here, globalism is an ideological commitment to open borders and global interest, while globalization, it involves the practical spread of ideas and commerce worldwide. The difference is that globalization is the actual process of spreading ideas, goods, services, and information around the world. It's about what's happening in practice. While globalism is the belief or idea that the world should be connected with open borders and shared global interests. It's more about the mindset or the attitude. So, in short, globalism is the idea and the globalization is the action. There are three types of globalism. We have economic globalism, military globalism, and social globalism. Now let's proceed to economic globalism. Economic globalism. It involves long-distance flows of goods, services, and capital and the information and perceptions that accompany market exchange. These flows in turn organize other processes linked to them, economic flows, markets, and organizations just like multinational firms all go together. So, economic globalism, it refers to the global flow of goods, services, capital, and information. Okay, these flows connect economies and create international markets. And as a result, businesses like multinational corporations grow and operate across borders, helping to organize and support global trade and economic activities. So, the second type of globalism is military globalism. It refers to long distance networks in which force and the threat or promise of force are deployed. A well known example of military globalism is the balance of terror between between the United States and the Soviet Union during the Cold War, a strategic interdependence that was both acute and well organized. So, the military globalism is the global connection of military power, where force or threat of force is used across long distances. It involves strategic relationships between countries based on military strength. A key example for this, no, just like I said earlier, is the Cold War or the balance of terror between the US and the Soviet Union, where both sides depended on the mutual threats to maintain stability. And the last type of globalism is the social globalism. Social globalism, it is also includes cultural globalism, and it involves movements of ideas, information, images, and of the people who carry ideas and information with them. To exemplify this dimension, religions spread throughout the world due to the different modes, and they have reached foreign lands, just like Christianity in the Philippines, Islam in Indonesia, or Buddhism in Thailand. So, social globalism, it involves the global spread of ideas, culture, information, and people. So, social globalism, it involves the global spread of ideas, culture, information, and its people too. It includes how beliefs, values, and tradition move across borders and influence society. One of the key examples that I said earlier is the spread of religion, like how Christianity to Philippines, Islam to Indonesia, and Buddhism in Thailand. It is through traveling, trade, and migration. So that is all for my topic today. I hope you learned something in this topic, and thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Micaela Garamisa, and I am the reporter of internationalism. So, what is internationalism? So, internationalism is the idea of cooperation among countries. Sa madaling salita, ito ay ang pagtutulungan ng mga bansa, whether sa politics, economy, or culture. Ginagawa ito for the common good, ibig sabihin, para sa ikakabuti ng lahat. May mga shared goals and values ang mga bansa, kaya sila nagtutulungan. Sa internationalism versus nationalism ay kino-compare ang internationalism at nationalism. So, ang nationalism ay focus sa sariling bansa, like unahin natin muna ang ating bansa or ang Pilipinas, pero ang internationalism ay parang like buong mundo, hindi lang ang ating bansa. Pero kahit magkaiba sila, pwedeng magsama ang nationalism at internationalism, depende sa form, no? Features of internationalism, meron tayong dalawang important features ng internationalism, which is the humanitarianism and the economic stability. So, sa humanitarianism, this means tumutulong tayo sa kapwa kahit anong lahi o bansa pa ito. or siya, no, 'di ba? Halimbawa, kapag may giyera o sakuna sa ibang bansa, tumutulong tayo. That's internationalism in action. Sa economic stability naman, nakakatulong ang pagtutulungan ng mga bansa para maayos na ekonomiya. Like tulad ng trade, commerce, at investment are the easier kapag may cooperation. So, here naman tayo sa types of internationalism. So, sa liberal internationalism and social internationalism. So, sa liberal internationalism, naniniwala ito na lahat ng bansa ay equal at pwedeng mag-cooperate to reach common goals. Like, gusto nito ng democracy at self-determination. Ibig sabihin, bawat bansa ay may sariling kakayahang So, sa social internationalism naman, dito ang focus sa class, like mayaman versus mahirap. Ang goal nila ay ang class consciousness. Like, ibig sabihin, maging aware ang mga tao na kailangan nilang magkaisa bilang work class, no? Para sa kanila, ang nationalism ay parang distraction lang na gawa ng kapitalismo para hindi magkaisa ang mga tao. So, that's all. Thank you.